always like, how do you advise neighbors and what's going on? But they said right in the conversation on however many weeks ago that was, that they had many conversations. You just didn't see a picture of it. But
Yeah,
she knew. They were the ones that told her about this meeting and said, come to this meeting and applying, and this is the date. And she knew all of it. So she just didn't get online to look at it. But it's an interesting question. But in that case, she did have a chance to. Her situation is she didn't go.
Yeah, that one was a little.
Doesn't have internet or what?
Yeah, I don't think she had internet
that night. But how do you live in 2020 and not have any access to any internet?
Well, I know some people.
What?
Did they put the fence up yet?
I don't know.
I don't know if you walked by.
I haven't seen it.
I did hear
they said they had a conversation and they did go to her to say, this is what's going on.
I don't know if they knew like how quickly she was moving and exactly, you know, how big the fence was going to be and everything. That it's still
I just want to let everybody know we're live streaming now and it's 7:01. So
okay, let's start. We don't have a quorum. Wait.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's all we need.
3 is a quorum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It is 7:01 and we are going to start the meeting.
Let me read the.
Yes, please.
Actually, I can let me bring the attendees in. Somebody's raising their hand. Who's raising their hand? Mark Summers. Mark Summers is calling now. So he's all right, here we go. Promote the panelist. Here he comes.
Then there were 4.
Mark.
Hey.
Hey, I'm going to stay on mute because I've got a fairly loud air conditioner right next to me.
Could you hear us when you were in the attendees grouping?
No, I could not. I didn't know anybody could hear me. I raised my hand.
I saw that, yeah.
I heard that I could hear you guys, but I didn't show up.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll read it first, as long as they can hear it. So I'll read the beginning synopsis here.
And just, excuse me for 1 second, is Todd not expected tonight?
I hadn't heard.
I haven't heard that he wasn't going to come. That's why I was asking. Okay.
He's usually early.
I talked to him this morning. You didn't say anything.
Sometimes he's forgotten, other times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want to get going?
Yeah, let's get going.
Okay. This meeting of the Historic District Commission will take place in a webinar format through Zoom. The chair of the commission is Sarah Moriarty. The host of the webinar is a building official. Staff attending the meeting include Peters of English, Seamus Quinn, and Linda Galetta. Anyone speaking should state their names prior to speaking each time. The panelists in this webinar meeting will be the commission members and the building staff. Panelists who would like to comment on an item should indicate such by the icon to raise hand at the bottom of the screen. After a panelist raises their hand, they will be able to comment one at a time when called upon by the chairperson. Panelists should mute their microphones until called upon. Panelists calling into the meeting by telephone may raise and lower their hands by pressing *9. To mute or unmute your call, press *6. To make a motion or second a motion, commission members can raise a hand or be acknowledged by the host or chair. To vote on a motion, commission members will be called upon individually by the chair to vote. The public can participate in the meeting during the public communications agenda item. Public will be asked to raise their hand during public communications if they want to speak at this time by using the icon to raise hand at the bottom of the screen. The public will be called upon by the host one at a time and will be able to speak during this time. Attendees must identify themselves before speaking.
Great.
Peter, did you include in that, I'm sorry, about how to raise your hand on the telephone?
Yes.
You did.
Okay, good, thanks. Sorry.
*9.
So
I'm going to bring the
go ahead.
attendees in. I'm going to promote them to panelists.
Okay, and I am going to, I'll seat, should I seat Summers for Moriarty?
Sure.
Is that how? Okay. We
As
will,
long as I don't have to run the meeting.
I know, well, if you're a Moriarty, maybe I should just hand it over to you. All right, Todd, would you like to read the call?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
I don't have the call. I can't find, I couldn't bring it up.
Okay,
I'm having technical difficulties.
okay.
Hang on one sec. Let me see if I can.
Pull it up.
Yeah. Where is it? Oh, hang on. I gotta read. I lost it, so I just gotta pull it back up again.
Peter, it's
There we
actually,
go.
all right, well, that's not the call. That's the agenda. The
Yeah,
call is
Can you
actually,
get the exhibits.
if you go back out, it's in the attachment.
Hang on a second. Back out. So, where is it? The legal ad?
Yes.
A roll call right here. Or you just on legal ad download.
It should be a Word attachment.
Isn't it usually at the end of all the exhibits, Linda?
Yes, yes, you're right, it is.
On this page.
That is the other place.
Well, that's where I always,
It's hidden.
Is this right here? Can you guys see that?
No, we can't see it, Pete.
Oh, shoot. All right, hang on a second. Why is that not coming up? Go to here, show screen.
There we go.
okay, I can read that. Nice and short. Dear Michelle, please publish the following public notice for one insertion on Monday, July 13, 2020. Town of Groton notice of public hearing, Historic District Commission. The Historic District Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21, 2020 at 7 p.m. virtually via the Zoom platform to hear the following applications requesting a certificate of appropriateness. HDC 20-51, 24 West Main Street, 24 West Main LLC owner, Jacob Andros applicant, signage, PIN number 261918412001. HDC 20-52, 40 New London Road, Carl Garing, owner applicant, HVAC condensers, PIN number 261917106439. The Zoom meeting link will be posted to the town's website meetings calendar or can be attended by visiting www.zoom.us. Webinar ID 893006582238, password 521587, or by phone at 1-312-626-6799. Applications are on file and available for public inspection during normal business hours at the Planning Department, 134 Groton Long Point Road, Groton, Connecticut. Dated this 13th day of June. 2020 at Groton, Connecticut. Todd Brady, secretary.
Okay. So do we have, are we continuing? We're gonna do our, sorry, I'm gonna pull up what I have here. Stick to what you have here. Okay. So we will start our public hearings. We'll call HDC 20-15, 54 West Main Street. However, shouldn't we call 2043 first? Since the first is sort of contingent on that? Wouldn't you say? The first one that's in the lineup is the ongoing mortgage company, correct?
Yes, it is.
So well, I'm not sure how we do that before we do Lori Finance.
Are either of them here?
I don't know.
Yeah, we should probably do the existing. merge.
You're muted, Pete. Can't hear what you're saying.
I'm just checking the crowd, see if this.
I mean, is Chris DeBoer or Lori finding?
Nope, neither one is listed.
Okay, so
Move around.
we will,
Do you want to make sure nobody is representing them and waiting to talk?
All the participants are here, so there's no one there's no attendees. Everyone is, I promoted to a panelist, so they're available right now if they need to speak right now.
right. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, yeah, okay. So as long as those are both they don't have anyone here representing them, we will continue.
I think we do have a motion to continue 20-15.
Well, should we continue it, Mark? or
To
should we
continue.
get the public hearings and see if somebody shows up. It's up to you, but
We'll continue it at the end.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna call HDC 20-51, 24 West Main Street, owner Jacob Andros, applicant, signage. Jacob? Are you out there? Is Jacob here?
We have Garing,
No,
Eric
no.
Cutlass, and that's it.
Okay.
That's all that's here.
So that should, well, we only have, we will just leave those open until we finish Garing, and then if anyone shows up, we'll come back to them, okay?
Heather, what happened to your video?
I don't know what happened. It was working in my last Zoom, but it says it's going. Clearly it's not.
It appeared for a second.
Oh, I've turned it off. Oh, it's my picture.
Yeah.
I turn it off, it goes to my picture. When I turn it on, it's just a black screen.
Okay.
Hold on, let me see if this will work. No. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna call Garing. I'm gonna HDC 20-52, 40 New London Road, Carl Garing, owner applicant, HVAC condensers. Carl, you out there? Wow.
Asking them to unmute. They're in there.
Okay, please unmute any Garings in the crowd.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening, commission members. I'm Carl Garing on behalf of myself and Kathy. So can you allow me to share the screen so I can manipulate my exhibits or no?
Well, what happens is Peter is in charge right now, and he will go through your application, and you can speak and request if he goes up or down depending on.
I can promote him to a co-host so you can get control of it if he wants.
Oh, now you're getting fancy with the
I
code.
know, I'm getting better at this. Let's see how it works.
Tell me when you're ready.
It should be, I sent to be a co-host, so try it out, see if you can.
Still locking me out so far.
All right.
If you want to try it
No,
the other way.
Oh, well, I got 2 Garings on there, so it might be the wrong one.
Oh.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me take that one away. Withdraw co-host permission, then I'll do the other one. There we go. Let's try this. There you go. Is that you?
It says, okay, this will stop others from sharing. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay, so I'll take that. And I'm going to open.
Do you have to turn off your sharing, Peter?
Ah,
I'm sorry?
you'll have to turn off your sharing.
Oh, hang on a second. Let's see.
Sure.
So
Try that.
there we go. All right, so now I'm going to Can you see? Let's see, share screen, share, okay. Tell me when that comes through. All right, so here's the print.
Bingo.
Do you all see that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Here's the front street scene. I'm going through the obligatory filing requirements from the old days or whatever. I don't know if you still enforce this or not, but there's the front street scene. Here's looking east. There's looking west. Here's my site plan. The subject matter are these condensers. The X over here on the west side is off the driveway. The X over here on the southeast corner is that one. Photograph of this. Here's the view of the driveway side. That yellow X back there is the vicinity of where the condenser unit will be. And then the piping will go up the side of the building. This is going to service the second floor. So the pipe is going to go up the side of the building and disappear in. I'm going to enclose it in a chase of some kind and paint it to match. Obviously, I'm as concerned about aesthetics as you guys are. So that'll be hidden in the best way I can make it. And then the condensers on the east side, that southeast corner, those are going to disappear through the basement. Now you notice this basement window back here that I got the cursor hovering over? I might put them back here. If you guys recall, I came for your permission to build an enclosure over these outside basement stairs. And it's one of these chicken and egg things where I have not done that yet, and I'm about to, but I also wanted to figure this out with these condensers because I may tuck them back in that corner, but I need to read my manufacturer's specs on clearances and all that. And if I don't have room back there, then I'm going to pull them out to where these double X's are between those two windows. But in any case, the piping for these will disappear inside. They'll go into the basement, so there'll be nothing going up the side of the building. And the condenser specs are on the west, one of these on the driveway side that I've highlighted in red. So they're about, we can round this off about 2 feet by 3 feet by a foot, roughly. And then the same with the other one's a little bit bigger. And then what do they look like? They look like this, which you've all seen. So it's very simple, very straightforward. Again, 2 over here, 1 over here. And looking on the site plan, this driveway one, would clearly be visible under existing conditions from the public way. These ones in the southeast probably won't be because of the vegetation, because of our hedge, but I know you don't consider the hedge, but there you go. You've got this big hedgerow along the front. So you're not really going to be able to see those unless if the hedge died, then yes, they would be visible. So for that reason, we are applying to you and respectfully ask for permission to proceed. I'll stop sharing if you're all set with that.
Yeah, I think, Carl, the only thing is that even though you can't even see the one that's on the east side, you really sort of have to decide now if you want us to vote on it, where you're going to put it.
Well, okay, I'm asking for both. Wait, east side and west side. I want both.
If you were talking about the one on the east side, the west side appears to be indicated, but the east side, you said you might put it back in the corner or you might put it out where the X's are. So you sort of have to say. You can change the mind and come back.
So the gist of it will be, okay, back here in the southeast corner, see that? And what I'm getting at is those 2 X's, that's where I'd like to put them. But if there's a way to fit them, you see this basement stairway down here?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I already have the permission to enclose that, and I haven't built that yet because of this reason. If when I'm building that, I determine that there's enough room to slide these back into the corner, then I would do that to make even more unobtrusive and hidden. So I guess I'm asking, I don't know why you'd have to pin it down to inches like that, but if we're going for something absolutely right now, well, then we'll go for this one because that's the most obtrusive. And if I can figure out a way to tuck them back even further, then I would do that.
Yeah, you would just have to come back if you decide to put them in the other location and ask to amend.
Not necessarily, because he has a okay to get an enclosure, and if they're not going to be seen because they're in the enclosure, then why would we need to
I
come
think
back?
they're next to the enclosure, right, Carl?
I'm sorry?
They'd be next to the enclosure, not in the.
Yeah, if I can fit it between the enclosure and the wall of the building, if there's enough space in there to get in and service and maintain them and allow the proper airflow and all that, I'd actually prefer to stick them back there. I'm just not sure I'll have enough clearance. So that's why I thought I'll slide them out.
What's the width between the wall and where the enclosure is going to be? Approximately?
There's probably only like 3-4 feet in there. I'll look out the window right here.
It's gonna be really tough.
Yeah, it's probably 3 feet, which I think, I agree, it's probably too tough, which is why I stuck them out there where those double
Right.
X's are.
That's probably your best bet.
Pete,
There.
Vinglis, what do you need? Like, I think you need 3 feet on each side or 2 feet on each side of clearance to be able to service it.
Oh.
You're muted still.
Yeah, so let's go with the double X. If you have to have it pinned down to the exact spot, then let's go with the double X. If I end up coming up with a different idea, I'll come back, but I probably won't. I'll probably stick with that.
And just,
I think you want to starve them for air. Carl.
yeah, be careful, because if
Right.
they overheat, you'll kill them.
Yeah,
You're doing it all over again.
yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
No,
Okay. All right, if there are no other questions, would anyone in the audience like to speak for this application? No hands raised? Would anyone in the audience like to speak against this application? HDC 20-52 is closed. And I will go back to HDC 20-15. Anyone here or anyone here for 54 West Main Street at all? Did anyone join since we last asked, Peter?
No.
Okay. So I will have a motion to continue HDC 20-15.
So
Second,
If you could just say your names, because now that I have another voice in there, Mark's, I don't recognize it always.
Okay.
So who made the motion?
Todd Brady moves to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Summers seconds.
Thanks.
All in favor? I guess I have to do a roll call, yeah. Janikopoulos, aye. Summers,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
is out there, Brady,
Aye.
Levinson.
aye,
Okay, that's everyone. So HTC 20-15 is continued. HTC 20-43, 54 West Main Street.
Brady moves we continue.
This is, what's that?
Brady moves we continue.
Thank you. I will.
Summers second.
Oh, or Mark will. All in favor, let's see, Janikopoulos, aye. Summers,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
Levinson,
aye,
Brady,
Aye.
okay. HTC 20-43 is continued. HTC 20-51, 24 West Main Street. That was-
Brady moves to continue.
I'll second. Heather Janikopoulos. Roll call. Janikopoulos, aye. Summers,
Aye.
Levinson,
aye,
Goodman,
Aye.
Brady.
Aye.
HTC 20-51 is continued. And we are already on to public hearings. So that is all three of those. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm pre-application hearings.
now we got to vote on the condenser thing.
Oh, yeah.
We're moving to deliberations. Yes, sorry. Okay, so we are on HTC 20-52, 40 New London Road. Carl,
Move to approve.
Second, Brady.
Summers made the motion.
all right, we're gonna roll call. Janikopoulos, aye. Summers,
Aye.
Levinson,
Aye,
Goodman,
Aye.
Brady,
Aye.
okay. HTC 20-52 has been approved.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now pre-application hearings. Are there any?
Yes, we do.
Alrighty.
Good evening. This is Eric Kudlis from Eric's Design Build. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we
Barely.
can.
but that's it.
Oh, I can.
Are we good?
You need him to speak up, Mark?
I think Todd could, I can hear him, Todd couldn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
Todd?
A little trouble hearing, but I can make
Okay.
Okay. This is Eric Kudlis from Eric's Design Build Associates. We've been building and designing buildings in Connecticut for approximately 30 years, and we've appeared before the commission several times in the past for some projects that were done right, and we didn't have any incidents. I've been asked by Mr. Hardesty, who lives at 14 Fort Rachel Place, to become involved in a situation that he has at his place where there was an approval on a garage to be built. The garage was not built according to the plans. There were changes made. It was a perfect storm. It was the plans were done and submitted by builder number one. And builder number one got into the project, realized he couldn't finish it, and invited builder number two into the project and was going to work with him. And then there was a dispute about some money, and we know how that ended, and the building ended up not being built according to the plans. So Mr. Hardesty asked me to get involved and do whatever the commission wanted in terms of guidance. And so here today to present the exhibits and ask for some guidance from the commission. I hope next week, the next weekend, to submit a certificate for application. Whether if it's approved or denied, will direct what we end up doing with the project. If I can begin with the exhibits, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I didn't have success in the last meeting, but Peter helped out.
Let me go. I'm going to promote you to a co-host. Hang on a second.
Thank you. I see the screen sharing icon at the bottom. Should I click that?
Yep.
Oh, brother. Okay, here we go. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Mr. Hardesty lives on 14 Fort Rachel Place. This is the entrance to Fort Rachel Place. There are 7 homes on the street. The entrance is 13 feet wide. It's a short road. It dead ends basically in the back of Fort Rachel Marina, where they have boat storage throughout the year, and in the winter the boats are wrapped with plastic. And he's roughly 100 feet from the end of the street. He's the second to the last house there at that building. This is a street view in front of Mr. Hardesty's place. The road's 12 feet wide, and we can see that it's already approaching the end here. Directly across the street from the garage and his home, there's a rock outcrop that I believe someone mentioned in the last meeting was a lookout over the harbor. It's a pretty tall outcrop. There's no building there. I don't anticipate one ever being there. So across the street, there's directly across from the garage, the 12-foot road. There's no property, no neighbors. This is the view standing in front of Mr. Hardesty's garage. And we can see down the road that we have the boat storage yard. And in this kind of situation, there isn't a lot of traffic. There's virtually no sightseeing, mostly people who come down to work on their boats. And in the winter, the boats are wrapped with plastic, and that's the view from his garage. Just to the right, you see the last home that's on the right, and that's this here. Oh, this is the ledge outcrop in the back of Mr. Hardesty's garage. That's the garage outline on the left. And is there something in the way of the picture?
Yes, but
I try to click.
I don't think that, there we go, you got it off.
Okay. And that's a ledge outcrop. It's, I don't know, 50 feet tall, maybe. In other words, there's no one who sees the house from the back. So there's no one across the street. There's no one from the back who sees the property. And he's second to the last house at the end of the cul-de-sac. This is the last home on the cul-de-sac. And that was built maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It was when I was completing, I think, one of the projects we did at Mr. Hardesty's home at that time. And this is a close-up of that home. Right next to Mr. Hardesty's garage. And this is basically a shot of Mr. Hardesty's home and the garage as built. That's the way it is built currently. So that's a view of the neighborhood, the street he lives on. And then we have, can you see this okay? Whoops. Let me try this. Is it, last week someone asked for a comparison of what was originally approved and the current as-built there. Is there?
We can't see anything.
Oh, no. How about that?
Yeah, we could see that.
Okay, this is a picture. On the right-hand side is the original approved design. On the left-hand side is the as-built as it currently exists. The as-built is the same footprint, but basically it's 2 feet taller than the original approved plan. On the south elevation, facing the neighbor whose house was on the left, we have the original elevation and we have the as-built. So builder number 2, when builder number 1 was not in the picture anymore, builder number 2 tried to basically, from what he told me, is he tried to make the windows similar to what's on the street and what's on Mr. Hardesty's house. So he changed the window design and installed a door on this side. The minutes of the meeting, several meetings back where the second builder was in attendance, he explained that he wanted the windows to more closely match the home and match the street. And I drove down the street. I couldn't see any windows that looked like those little transom windows. I didn't see them anywhere on the street. As far as I know, there's no windows that match those transom windows on the street anywhere. And the major objection, other than the fact the building's not built the way the commission approved, is that it changed the mass and the scale of the building. And when I look at this as a designer, at the 2 transom windows, well, first of all, I didn't design this plan and I never would have designed it this way because I don't think it's very attractive, but whatever. If you have a dining room wall, nobody puts 2 little pictures on the dining room wall to break up the wall. I mean, they might break it up with a chair rail. They might do a wainscot on the bottom to divide the wall. They might put crown molding up or do a built-up crown. They might change the base molding, do different colors, but basically to deal with mass impact, you try to break a big surface up into smaller components. And I think in terms of mass and scale, the as-built more closely resembles the neighborhood. The neighborhood is mostly small capes and colonials that are similar to what the garage looks like. On the north side, since he had put the door on the other side, he eliminated this door and he eliminated this transom window and just put in 4 windows, which match the house. And on the back side, we have the rear elevation facing the ledge rock, and he removed those windows. This is one of the neighbors. The neighbor in the red house hasn't said much of anything in regard to the process, but the neighbor to the right has seen the building, and this is from Christine Mulholland and Frank Fulchero. They're next door on the right-hand side of Mr. Hardesty's home. And they said, "Dear Commission, we are longtime neighbors of Michael Hardesty at 14 Fort Rachel Place. Michael is applying for a certificate of appropriateness for modifications to his garage. We've reviewed the plans, the proposed modifications, and have no objections to its design and construction, and find the new design agreeable and appropriate. And thank you for your consideration, Christine Mulholland and Frank Fulchero." So the way I see it is that, and then this is the guidance I'm looking for, and I'm going to do basically whatever the commission wants. I'm not emotionally involved in the project. If I had designed it, I wouldn't have designed it the way it was on the approved plans. I don't think it's a very attractive design. I don't think it fits the neighborhood. And I would have built it to what the commission had approved. Well, we had a perfect storm and that didn't happen. So I think basically I'm looking for the commission's guidance. I think the commission, if I apply for a certificate of appropriateness after gaining some direction and guidance from commission members tonight, which I'd appreciate. The last time I did projects in the town, I got a lot of good guidance and direction from the commission at that time. A lot of ideas we incorporated. They were good ideas and the projects were successful and attractive. So the way I see it is I think the commission can insist that the design be made to replicate the original approved plans, in which case I'm just going to tear off the roof, cut 2 feet off the upper studs, replace the windows and put the roof back on. It's an expensive process. I don't like the results. If the commission might be agreeable, I may ask for an approval of the modifications for the as it's built, since we do have one neighbor in support and no one speaking against. It's not a tourist area, and in view of the neighborhood with nobody in back, nobody across the street, the end of a dead end by a boatyard, I believe the commission and its authority has a lot more flexibility here than it would for a project on Main Street where there's 1,000 cars a day, 2,000, 5,000 going by.
Eric, just so you know, the commission denied the request to have it approved as is.
I understand that. I recall that you mentioned it. And so so I'm looking for guidance as to changes maybe to make. When Mr. Hardesty first called me and informed me of the situation, and he basically said the mass impact was too big and it was out of scale. So the first thing I said, well, just without having seen it, I just said, look, break it up. Break it up. If the roof line's too high, lower the roof line. And so they made some plans, and these were some of the ideas that were drawn up. And the first was, since there's a cape next door, do these what I call rake runs or rabbit runs in an eyebrow across to break up the mass of the front. On the sides, it would do the same thing. In design books, capes are called 1.5-story homes, even though for the most part they are 2-story homes, but they're called that because the roof line is brought down to the first floor height. So without seeing it, I just made some suggestions. I said, look, bring the roof line down, break up the mass, divide up the building, and that will reduce the scale and the mass impact. And so they drew up these plans, and I submit them as something for the consideration of the commission. But at this point, looking for guidance and direction from the commission, if any, and look forward to any suggestions, guidance, input any of the commission members might have.
Can you go back to the as-built front? Okay.
So in the original approval, the front was very plain. If you drive on the street, most of the homes have some nice moldings or on their homes. None of the homes are plain like this. To me, this is totally out of place. But the builder did put crossheads on the garage doors and on the double hung above. And I think from the road, I think it's a more attractive design and building than the original. And for the most part, the only thing people are going to see is the front of the building. The other sides of the building, we have the ledge in back. Mr. Hardesty's house blocks it on the right, where the neighbor wrote the letter of support. The individual with the cape on the left is ambivalent, I guess. We've not heard anything from him or them.
It seems like your proposal, you're adding dormers, or am I missing something?
No, in other words, on the drawing, I suggested doing a rake run or a rabbit run, like this, to break up the mass and the facade, and to bring the roof line down more, so the building, for all practical appearances, appears lower than it actually is, like a cape. And that was down in this section. That was in this section here. That's the same facade. It looks like a cape with dormers by adding the rabbit runs and the eyebrow. And that would have the same impact on the side. It will basically bring the roof line down and divide up the mass and scale of the side. In the back, nobody sees it, but we could do the same on the back, for example. And as I mentioned, this is a side facing Mr. Hardesty's home. And this is the original approved plan. And I didn't draw this plan, but anyway, I think this look in particular is more closely resembles what is in the neighborhood currently. Admittedly, it's large, but Mr. Hardesty's home is not small. The garage does not dwarf the home. His home is large. It's got a large deck in the back that we had designed and built, and it's got porches and bump outs. And when we looked at the picture, you could see that the garage matches the home. I mean, that's probably it in a nutshell. This right here doesn't match anything, and it doesn't match any house on the street that I'm aware of. So we're down at the end of the cul-de-sac, and I would just say there's not going to be, people aren't going to really care what Mr. Hardesty has. The neighbors are okay with it. The people going down to see their boats wrapped in plastic, nobody's going to be buying ice cream, eating ice cream, and drinking coffees down there to look over the architecture of the neighborhood. But it is a cute neighborhood, I have to say. And I know Mr. Goodman used to live there. I don't know what the address was, but the homes are really cute. And they
I own the yellow Federal, 2 houses up.
Oh, yeah.
But a couple of comments, it's not a cul-de-sac. It's a street that wraps around and goes past DPI. There is a lot of traffic on that street. There's a lot of walkers and there's a lot of car traffic. And I know that from living there for a year. So I would respectfully suggest that what you're saying is not accurate.
I wasn't present for the original approval, but something that strikes me is you keep comparing it to the houses on the street and it's a garage. Basically, he's got an approval for a garage and he's built a house from the external point of view, no matter what's inside it. My guess is this is a lot larger than any other garage on the street.
There are not any other garages on the street. And that's a point I made to you, Eric, before, which is that the house is out of character with the street. You've now created a structure that mimics the house, which is still out of character with the street. So now you've increased the density and mass of that property significantly because everything essentially rides on the road. So now everything in that plot looks out of whack relative to the Cape to your left, the Cape that Gig and Frank live in to the right, the Federal that's 2,000 square feet up that I used to own, the Federal Cape or whatever it is, or the small house between to the right of that, and then the Federal Cape that's on the right of that. And that's the whole street.
Well, the building is the same footprint. It is 2 feet higher. And other than the windows, nothing has changed. I think lowering the roof line 2 feet is not going to significantly impact the scale of the building. I don't think it'll be even perceivable that it's been lowered 2 feet.
No, but I think candidly, I think the comment is that I don't think anyone likes what was approved. I mean, I think that if certain members, present and not present, would go back and not vote for it had they have known it was going to look like it did. But you made it worse. Someone reported it, neighbor, whoever, and now we're back here trying to fix something that shouldn't have been built the way that it was, but probably would have never been approved if it had been shown to be what it actually is accurately, or in a better form that could have been viewed in context more so than it was.
Well, I just want to point out, I've had nothing to do with the process. I'm coming in to fix it and
I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you the
Yeah,
facts.
we know that.
Yeah.
I would not, had I have known what the original approved plan was going to look like, I would not have voted for it. And what was built, which obviously is a combination of many errors or whatever you want to call it along the way, or problems or issues, just made it worse. And now you could put it back to the way it was approved. I think I personally would not like it because I think it's ugly in the fashion that it is, but it got approved. But I think your solution of trying to fix it is probably going to be the right avenue to go down. I just don't know what that solution is.
Could any of the members of the commission offer some suggestions that in their opinion would help to remedy what's there currently?
I don't know how you would do this, but anything that helps reduce the perceived massing would be, I think that the more you can make it look less massive, the more likely you're going to get it approved.
Right. It's a scale issue. So I see what your rabbit runs or whatever the other.
Yeah, I'll scroll down to those.
I see what your attempt is. It still was so big to start, and to put 25 extra inches is even bigger. It essentially looks like a house, like I think Mark was saying. It looks like a house on a small lot with small homes. So it looks like there's 2 houses on that lot.
So, well, would the perception change if I tore off the roof and made it 2 feet lower? And would that significantly impact the mass and scale of it?
No, but the reality is you're approved to do that. So I don't think that's going to make it any better. You know, I think it's still ugly, but the reality is that's what you're approved to have.
I personally think that what he's proposed, and as far as the front, and then leaving the sides and the back, basically with some minor adjustments, is better than what we originally approved. That's just my individual opinion.
Mm-hmm. Can you
clean up the
of those? But
Hey, Heather.
Heather, what did you say? Sorry.
I was saying, can you do both? Or is there another fix that does take it down and proposes a redesign in a sense that's closer to what he's doing here versus what was initially approved?
Well, if he tries to lower the elevation of the roof by 2 feet, it will have a cascading effect on the second floor windows. Unless you flatten the pitch of the roof, which I think will be aesthetically a worse result too. I mean, I think that what we all recognize and what no one's really saying here is that in my humble opinion, the building was modified so that the second floor could be an occupied and habitable space. I mean, that's what was going on here. And that's why it looks more like a house than a garage, because it is in essence a small house with a garage underneath. I mean, that's what happened here. I mean, I think it was a mistake. I don't think that someone just built something without figuring out what they were building. I think they built what they intended to build, and what they intended to build was approved. I don't disagree with Eric that what was approved is not, on revisiting it, the most aesthetically pleasing looking thing. But it was a garage. That's all it was. It was a garage. Now it's not a garage anymore. It's a accessory apartment.
Right.
That's what it looks like.
I agree, Todd. And I think just to carry forward with that thought, Todd, he got initially approved for a garage, an oddly tall garage, but not a full, it's not a full walk-up second floor. Whereas what was built was a full livable second floor. Personally, what I think would help would be to lower the roof line back down to a cape, leave the first floor windows, put in eyebrow windows on the second floor, like what they call a high post cape, would bring it down a little bit and bring it back more towards a cape. I think making it into a dormer cape basically allows him to still have a second story and keeps it as being perceived as a 2-story house. And I think we've gone from approving a garage to having seen built a 2-story house, and we need to get back to something that looks like a cape style garage.
The original plan had a full walk-up storage second floor. Mr. Hardesty's home has a small basement area. The rest is crawl space, and he doesn't really have any storage. That's where
now you have air conditioning, heating, and plumbing up there. I mean, that's a nice storage area.
And there were no side windows at all on what was approved. There are now full-length side windows, which again makes me think that this is basically an apartment being built. Again, I can't say what's inside. I have no approval what's inside, but look at the window space in the two things. It's clearly a one-story, built to look like a one-story on what was approved with, again, an oddly tall loft.
And this drawing here, this comparison that's sitting here now, it doesn't really just show it as is, because the as-built actually looks a little bit smaller than the original height, for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's just from the copy machine, basically.
So Mark, were you suggesting that perhaps if he reduced the height of the, that he could at the same time?
I tend to agree with Mark that I think cleaning it back up to some original version with some modifications might.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but Mark, were you saying that he puts the eyebrows into the roof structure?
Put the eyebrows over the first floor windows. You know, I had to look it up. It's what every house on Block Island has, but the correct term is what's called a high cape, where you have knee level windows over the first floor windows and a full window on the gable end. So if you're looking at this, just take those two windows, move them up to the roof line on the original. Take those two windows, move them up to the roof line, put your first floor window and door back in, and make the roof line and leave the roof line as more of a cape-ish roof line. I'm not an architect, I'm an engineer, but that's kind of what I think might make it look less massive.
Is there anyone else with some suggestions? So, maybe I should clarify. So, Mark, you're saying lower the roof and move the windows up and keep these two in place. Am I understanding that correct?
Oh, you're muted, Mark.
Lower the roof back to the approved.
Or lower.
Have eyebrow windows, knee windows on the second floor, and the window and the door on the first floor, I think, are fine.
So you're talking about the kind of thing, Mark, where when you're up in the attic, there are windows up there in, well, the attic or the second floor, but they're down very close to the floor level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old Italianites where they had the third floor serving quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Any ideas for the front?
Well,
I think maybe just carry some of the detailing from the house over more so than they did on the original design.
Well, that would in essence be these
Right.
items here. So we basically would leave it.
Like the lentils, and maybe do something on maybe match the, I don't know, I have to see the house again. I don't remember.
I'm not sure how well this works, but this is the kind of house I'm talking about. That is a high post cape with half windows on the second floor and full windows on the first floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
In the front, I'm not sure I touched the front fenestration or anything. I just dropped down the roof.
can you go up to the actual photo of the front? You have that there?
Let's see. Let me try this. Oh, boy.
All right, it's fine.
I think I just messed it up. I can get this back.
Well, I think it sounds like we're all agreeing that the design of the as-built is superior than the original.
Yeah, I can get to it, but it's going to take me a while to
Okay.
get through all the buttons.
That's fine.
All right, I don't think it's not necessary, Eric. I think Mark has made a good suggestion, and that's another image right there, Mark, the same kind of thing with the.
That's different kind of things. I have a kind of a fondness for these houses because they're all over Block Island. But it's much less than a colonial. It's much less impact than a full 2 stories.
Yeah, there are 2 houses across from the Randall's Wharf Marina, 2 old workers' houses that have windows like that on the 2nd floor on Water Street.
I know which ones you mean, yes.
Yeah, they're identical.
So, Eric, do you feel that you have suggestions that you can actually take back and
Yeah, I think the commission's given a lot of good suggestions. I like them all. I need to bring them back to Mr. Hardesty and tell him what the options are, and he's going to say yay or nay, or I'm just working for him. So, but I think the ideas are good. I think they would look good on the property. I think they'd achieve the goals that you suggested, and I think it would more closely fit into the aesthetics of the neighborhood.
I'm going to make one other. This is perhaps specifically not a good idea, but I don't know what the rest of the commission members think. But my personal opinion is that the house might look better, or the garage might look better, if the roof pitch were a little bit greater. So I think it might be interesting to see if you lower down the eaves by 2 feet. I'm not sure you might want to show the building with the ridge still at the same height, but with a greater pitch. I think it might make it a better looking garage.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, a steeper pitch is typical to the area, and personally, I like them a lot better. I like it a lot better. A 612 pitch is.
It's pretty modest.
Yeah,
it was that thing I alluded to at the last meeting. It begins to look like one of the marina buildings at Randall's Wharf.
like a commercial building.
Yeah.
So something to think about. Is leave the ridge where it is and just drop the sides and drop your rafters down.
No, I like that idea too. I think that's a good idea. Okay. Any steeper pitch than a 6 would definitely be an improvement, in my opinion.
And I think that the overall mass would be lessened regardless. Maybe a slightly steeper pitch would lessen the overall, the flat plane of the front of the gable end there. Sort of a halfway cut between your rabbit runs and I'm not crazy about the rabbit runs. I think they reduce the scope and scale of the building, but they just looks a little odd to me for some reason. And again, I think it looks, well, I'm not sure why, but I think it's helpful, but I'm not crazy about the appearance. So
I think you're overcomplicating it with that. I think you're in the right direction with the suggestions so far.
Okay, well, I appreciate those. Are there any parting words, any final words of wisdom that I can take back and incorporate?
You don't have to repeat your original spiel. I think we all know the story and history of this when you come back.
You don't like my original introduction?
Oh no, we heard it from back there.
Understood.
You have to do, when you go to the public hearing, you obviously have to repeat a lot of what you already said, but we can sort of plow through this pretty fast, I think, at this point.
Right. Okay, well, great. Unless there's any other comments, thank you very much for your time and your input. And I'll like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I'll be back.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. So on to, are there any other pre-applications?
Yeah, I have a comment. I received approval for Factory Square at the last meeting. I've now run into a bit of a hiccup. And I guess that maybe I have to come back for another public hearing. But we were planning to wrap those balconies at Factory Square with pressure treated lumber. And basically there is a huge shortage of pressure treated lumber nationwide. And I cannot get the material I need. And I've got to, apply for the building permit. And so I want to substitute another material to wrap the sides and the soffits, the undersides of the deck. So I think I have to come back for another public hearing for that, correct? I mean, even if I modify the material, can that be an amendment?
A modification has to be a public hearing, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think it would constitute a modification, right? I mean, changing the material.
What are you changing it to?
Well, we talked about a couple alternatives, none of which seem to work too well. So now we're going to actually, we're going to switch to boral, and we're going to wrap it with boral, which will last forever, but I'm going to have to paint it now, which is what I was trying to avoid. But according to what I've read, you can put a coat of paint on a piece of boral, which is already primed, and it will sit there for 20 years, or so it has been alleged. I guess I'll find out.
What about a thin piece of E-Peg?
Huh?
Too expensive, thin E-Peg, like a 1x8 E-Peg?
I need a 1x10 1x10s.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, you some of the stuff you can get boral on that side, but you can't get. And we talked about cedar, but we think it'll in those sheets at 1x it'll start cracking and checking.
Yeah,
and start to fall apart on me.
the boral's good, just it's brittle. That's the only problem with it.
It's brittle, but it's inert. AZAC I think is worse. So
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just have to file for a modification.
Okay. All right. Any other? There's no one waiting for us. Right, Pete?
No,
Okay. So public communications.
I do have one to share. We did get, let me see if I can pull it up here. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
This was sent to the town manager and then sent down to me to bring to HTC.
Okay.
Who's John Burt?
Town manager.
Town manager.
He's the town manager.
Okay, got it.
So,
We
got
know
it? All right.
Okay.
You want to read it into the record?
No, I figured I'd put it on there.
Okay.
It'll be part of the record if anyone needs to come and access it. It'll be available.
Okay. Got it. All right. Approval of the minutes. Any motions?
On that note, though, I do think if we approve things like demolitions, like we did with the library and mine, we should just make sure that if we approve it, we state the reasons why.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I think commenting in general, we can pump up a little bit. When I first got on, I felt like nobody was saying anything. We were just saying yays or nays. So now it seems like definitely in a demo situation, but also in general wouldn't be a bad habit to get into, is just to have comments with a little more commenting, I guess. Okay, approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Brady, second.
Oh, all in favor? Can we do a collective aye?
Aye.
Uh,
Okay,
Everybody's-
old business. What, Todd? I couldn't hear you.
Well, if you take a collective aye, you should probably take a collective nay.
Well, I had two motions, so I was going with it. All right, old business. Anything? New business?
Well, I just something for people to think about, I talked to Mark a little bit before we all joined about, if we redo the guidelines, having something in there a little bit better about notice to adjoining property owners, particularly if people are putting fences on their property line, that they, something to the effect that they give specific notice to the adjoining property owner of their intention. And I'm not suggesting anything now, I'm just throwing it out for people to think about for the future.
You may have to, well, yeah, that's a good thought.
Though somebody said that, Linda, that they do that with the zoning board, that they require some kind of notice.
Yeah, it's just it's done with a lot of planning and zoning type things. My personal opinion is it's just another thing to have to do. So I'm not crazy about it.
I'm not an expert on how the statutes are written. I think that with ZBA, it's statutorily required.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it is for Historic District Commission. So I would just be, make sure that you talk with staff before you make that decision, just because you don't want to take on more onus for FOIA and noticing and that sort of thing that isn't really required by statutes. That would be my only caution.
That's a really good point. Maybe just making a suggestion in the application or something that they let their neighbors know, or some polite way of saying, inform your neighbors may be the best route without trying to make it a requirement.
So along those lines, Todd, please let your neighbors know that you're going to change things because you had a pre-approval tonight. So as part of our pre-approval, we're going to tell you, let your neighbors know that you're going to change the materials. And I think we should do it as part of pre-approval.
That's a very good point. It's a good way to do it.
How am I supposed to let them know?
Any way you would like to, it's merely a suggestion.
Okay.
Just say, hey, if you think your neighbors might have a problem, let them know now.
The problem is that the appeal period is very unrealistic. If you're a neighbor and you suddenly learn and you don't go on every week to see what's on the agenda of the HDC, and your next door neighbor comes up with something you really don't like and we approve it, your options are pretty limited to fight it.
Can you appeal an HTC?
Yeah, I don't know that a neighbor, well, it's another question. Yeah, I don't know if a neighbor could approve it.
Well, I think that's what your job as the commission is to go through and abide by what the regulations are and the rules are, and that's why you determine if you can do it or not. So I think, you guys are doing your job, is going through and approving it or disapproving it. So technically you're doing what's required anyway with the,
There was that one lawsuit, what was it, on Pearl Street?
Yes.
That's ongoing.
52 Pearl Street.
What is it?
52 Pearl Street.
No, what's the quick version?
There are neighbors who are suing for what was done, and they're also suing the HTC, I think. They're suing everybody they can.
It's like we're getting sued.
Didn't that, Linda, it's been 2 or 3 years since we had anybody come before us, but
it has. I wasn't aware that HGC was being sued. I thought that it was challenged. It was appealed, and I think it went to court. I don't think the appeal was upheld. And then I don't know what's going on in terms of civil matters.
Well, the judge is going to do proper protocol, make sure proper protocol was followed, and as long as it was, it's going to be followed through. There's not going to be a problem.
Was it appealed by the neighbors, or was it appealed by the applicant that got denied?
The neighbors.
It was appealed by the neighbors because it ended up, I think, obstructing their view or something like that.
It's pretty hard to appeal though, if a vote's occurred and if the procedures are followed.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, anyone can appeal, but it's pretty hard to win
To be
it.
successful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not to mention, it's expensive and it's time consuming.
But I just think maybe just a friendly mention to people during pre-approval, say, hey, make sure your neighbors are aware of this, particularly the big impact things, air conditioning, whatever. No one cares about air conditioning. But if someone's going to do something that clearly it's going to affect the neighbor, you might want to say, hey, just to be a good neighbor, you might want to just let them know.
Flip side of the coin is, look what we had with the pre-application tonight, where it's like he had a letter from his neighbor saying they didn't have a problem with it. So that's from the other side of the spectrum.
He also had a neighbor who was ambivalent, but my guess is they solicited the one from the one neighbor. Why wouldn't they have solicited the other? I think there might be some missing information.
Right.
Yeah, it's also, you go to your neighbor and say, please sign this. I'm an attorney.
Right, and so why didn't they do that with the other neighbor?
I don't know. And why didn't they get everyone on the street? Maybe that would have been a little better. But
Anyway,
obviously.
All right, so noted. Maybe we will add that as a suggestion in pre. All right, I think that's it. So
Just one thing quick,
Todd,
I'm gonna just mention this, but you guys may not be aware that one of my subcontractors ran over the Art Association booth or crashed into it. So they've been operating without a booth for a couple weeks. Todd and I have been trying to get this thing through the insurance company, who's not being very helpful, but at some point I gotta rebuild that booth. So I'm just gonna rebuild it unless anyone really objects. And then if there's any significant changes, I'm gonna come forward or come for a hearing, but I'm gonna try to build it exactly like it was there now. We need to rebuild it ASAP.
like for like shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty much dead on. It's just there's some code issues that aren't going to work pertaining to like the electrical service and such, but they're minor.
okay. All right.
Unless anyone super objects to it, that was kind of my plan.
It's a
Time
financial,
is of the essence.
it's a financial disaster for the museum at the moment because they are having
Yeah,
trouble
I just get it done.
getting their revenue up. So
We've been trying to get it done for 4 weeks now, and we've 5 weeks.
the insurance company is not cooperating.
Oh man. Anything else, guys?
That's it.
Heather, you're doing a good job. That's all.
Oh, I did. We're done. I did a good.
I don't understand what's the matter with your video. That's all.
I don't know but you know what? I don't care. I like it like this, incognito.
We miss your beautiful face. What are you saying?
Well, here. Next time I'll just do that. There you go.
Oh,
Motion.
That's a pretty awesome picture.
Yes, it's coming. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Good night.
All right. All right, stop the recording. Thank you. All right.